What's up everybody, it's Joe here with Joseph Blake Photography, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the upcoming Canon event where they're going to be announcing a bunch of new lenses. We've already talked about a few of them. It sounds like there's actually going to be a few more, and we have a really interesting patent for like a mega zoom lens. So let's jump in. Again, I'm Joe. I am a landscape and portrait photographer here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is my channel, Joseph Blake Photography, where we talk about tech and news and gear and reviews and all the things that we use to create the content that we create, whether it's here on social media, on YouTube, whether you're delivering to clients, or whether or not you're just making awesome videos for your friends and family. We talk about that stuff here. So if you're interested in that, I'd appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. And if at the end of the video, because I need you to watch all the way to the end, that's what the YouTube algorithm wants. If at the end of the video you think that I have given you all the info that you need on these products, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. At the same time, social media links down below if you want to follow me there, and a list of all the gear that I use. But enough about me and enough about the channel, let's jump into talking about these lenses. So Canon has really been pushing the PR campaign here towards the end of the year. They've already done their big camera releases, right? We have the R5 Mark II, we have the R1 coming here at the end of November. And pretty much everything else is looking like it's going to be 2025 for the R6 Mark III, for the R3 Mark II, and really whatever else that is coming down the pipe. But the RF lens line still has a lot of spots that need to get filled. So not a surprise here before the end of the year that Canon is making a big announcement about lens availability. So I did a video a little while back where we talked about what we thought these lenses would be. We thought it was going to be 5 lenses, 2 of which have already been pretty much announced and have been in the hands of photographers here for the last month or two. And the other 3 lenses that we mentioned were the RF 24mm 1.4L, the RF 50mm 1.4L, right, that nifty 50, and the 70-200 f2.8 IS update. This is the L version that we're expecting to have internal zoom capability, unlike the current version that you can purchase right now for the RF mount, which is still an amazing lens, but it does have that extended end. It is not internal zoom. So in addition to those 3 lenses, we're going to be getting 2 more. And one of those we know pretty clearly, the other one we're not so sure. The one that we know pretty well is going to be their new VR lens, which I actually mentioned in a video that I did back in the summer when we were talking about Canon's business strategy. One of the items that Canon has specifically mentioned when they talk about their future business strategy over the next 2 to 3 years is to be included in the VR 3D AR space. They believe that that is a significant market segment for them. They mentioned specifically 3D headsets and creating 3D content. They were name dropped in the Apple release event for the Vision Pro. So not a shocker that Canon is going to continue releasing lenses that move forward the VR capability for their camera bodies. But the current lens that's available for VR content creation, for 3D content creation, is not available in the RFS mount. It's only available in RF. It's not compatible with those smaller sensors. So what we're actually expecting on the 30th is an RFS compatible 7.8mm dual fisheye lens. And this lens would be compatible with the VR content creation pipeline that Canon has been working on and continues to flesh out. I personally find these lenses pretty niche. I'm not really sure how many people are actually buying and using them, but I mean, having them in the lineup, there's nothing wrong with that. More versatility for everyone so that they can use Canon cameras and the products that they've already bought to do more and to create more. So using something like the R7, attaching this lens, you would be able to create spatial video or 3D VR video for something like the Apple Vision Pro. The other lens we're not really 100% sure about, but there is a patent filing that rumors have it might be a part of this particular release, and that is a 200 to 500 f4L IS. Now we don't know for absolute certain, but looking at the patent filing for this particular lens, definitely looks like it's going to be an L quality lens. There are a lot of components to this lens, a considerable number of aspherical elements, maybe even some diffractive optics elements, and it does support a constant aperture at 200 and 400 and 500 millimeters. So through the entire range, it's consistent. Nothing in the patent filing indicates that it would have a built-in ND or built-in teleconverter similar to those other patents that we reported on earlier this week, talking about those big old lenses with teleconverters built in. Another patent filing that we had that also looked like an L lens was a 200 to 400. Not a shocker there. We should definitely see something like that in the lineup. That's a pretty common range that we see from lens manufacturers, as well as a 300 to 800 f8. I don't know. That's something. I think at this point maybe Canon is just throwing things at the wall. So all of these three are potential candidates for the release this week, but if any of them were to be seen, it would likely be that 200 to 500 f4L. But those patents aren't actually the super zoom that I mentioned at the top of the video. So another patent that we saw includes a 30 to 600 f4 to f8. Now, this is a super zoom, kind of one lens to rule them all situation. And I'll be honest, sometimes this can be rather controversial because traditionally the loss in light gathering with the smaller aperture, the potential loss in quality due to the fact that this will likely not be an L variant lens is something that causes most pros to kind of shy away. But for enthusiasts, for traveling photographers, for honestly your just everyday consumer, a lens like this can provide a lot of opportunity for folks who either do not have the budget or the bag space or weight to be able to be lugging around a lot of glass. So shooting telephoto at 600 millimeters at your kid's middle of the day baseball game, this lens would be great on your R7 or your R10 or your R6. And if you were to put it on something like an R6 that has really great low light performance, you could probably even do some high-speed wildlife photography in action, even in some variable situations where the light wasn't really as much in your favor. And then bring it down to 100, 80, 120, 70, you've got portrait lens, right? You can take all the pictures of the kids and you're gonna be at f5.6, so you get close enough and you got a nice background distance, you're gonna be able to get some decent images. Will it be perfect? No, but it's gonna have IS, and honestly, it might be something that enthusiasts would definitely go for. Again, the trade-offs being the potential for optical quality and the lack of light gathering, but honestly the pros being probably lighter weight, less expensive, and you're only carrying around one lens. So I say go for it, Canon. Make that 20x magnification lens. But really, we can't have a conversation about Canon lenses or a Canon lens event without talking about really the elephant in the room. We're still missing a lot of RF glass from our third parties. As I mentioned at the top of the video, I'm both a portrait and a landscape photographer. So it's the busy season and I'm spending most of my weekends out shooting families, which means that my 24 to 70, my 35, my 85, those lenses are getting a lot of work. Well, guess what? My 85 is an EF adapted. My 35, which I'm filming this on right now, is a Sigma EF adapted. My 24 to 70 f2.8 IS is a Tamron adapted. I haven't switched those lenses over to RF because honestly I haven't needed to. The lenses that I have are great. Do I want to save the weight? Absolutely. Do I want the latest and the greatest? Absolutely. Do I want to avoid having to use adapters? Sure. Do I want to be able to use the fastest communication pipeline to be able to get autofocus and shooting information to and from my lenses to my camera? Yes. I'd really rather not spend between $2,500 and $3,500 on a single lens from Canon. And Sigma is a great example. They make phenomenal lenses, but as recently as last week, PhotoTrend interviewed a rep from Sigma and asked questions about the RF mount. And they said, oh, we love the RF mount. We love the lenses that we've put out thus far. But they've predominantly been RFS lenses, and they're really focusing on the crop market because honestly, I think that's all Canon is letting them do right now. Now, the reception of those lenses have been great, and as he said, they've got a bunch of primes in the works, some 16 and a 23 and a 32. They're actually really focused on focal ranges and zoom ranges that other companies aren't, especially Canon and especially on the RFS mount. But it's been 6 years. So we can all talk about being happy about getting new Canon lenses and them filling up the lineup, but we need options. We need choices. And the companies that were brave enough to try to do it all on their own and basically reverse engineer the RF mount like Samyang, well, they were given some pretty stern legal warnings pretty quickly. So we're excited to see new Canon lenses. We're excited to see what they do on the L side of things. but we need more options. I mentioned one of my lenses that I use for portrait photography. This is one of my favorite lenses. This is a Tamron 24-70 f2.8 with IS. This is their vibration compensation. This is model A007. It's EF mount, and I use it adapted. It works phenomenally well on my R6 Mark II as well as on my R5. It's fast. If I'm using electronic shutter, I get the full 20 frames per second. And while the IS in here does not necessarily cooperate with the IS in the camera, I have really never run into an issue with it. And optically, it is phenomenal. I've had it back to Tamron twice for service, and the images that I get out of this lens are great. I bought this lens in 2012, and the lens that Canon just released, their non-L edition of the 28-70, so not as wide, but with IS, non-L edition again, costs about as much as this did 12 years ago. And I would say, to be quite honest, optically, this one competes. Otherwise phenomenal, and honestly, my hope would be to replace it with another Tamron once they can come up with some RF glass. Anyway, that's it for these Canon lens announcements and news. I'll be making a video afterwards so we can kind of recap everything that's going on. Interesting to see some of these patents. Hopefully we see more stuff coming out soon with more options for more glass for photographers and videographers on the Canon platform. If that's the kind of thing that you are into or you're waiting for, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you liked this video and you watched it all the way through, thank you so much. I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. That really helps the algorithm. And of course, you can check me out on all the socials down below, as well as a list of all the gear that I use. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.